Welcome to the SBR NHL Double Play of the Day video. Adam Booth and Ian Cameron with you. I'm almost at a loss for words on how to get into this show because obviously we've got an ever-evolving, fluid, rapidly changing, unfolding situation going on in the sports world surrounding, of course, the COVID-19 coronavirus outbreak and pandemic that is impacting everyone. I am going to go forward. There's been no official. See, even the trains outside of Adams they're upset.
Trains are still running.
They're running, but it sounds like they're crying because I feel like crying right now. I think we all do.
Man.
I mean, we're all big. Obviously, we're in this. We're in the sports business. We are. We're handicappers. We're bettors. We're involved in betting on sports on a daily basis, and the impact it has, on games being canceled, leagues being canceled left and right. It's obviously not good for us, but you have to think about the greater good. You have to think about the greater issue on hand, and that's the life of human beings. That's the long-term health of human beings and preserving that as much as we possibly can. And that's why all of these decisions are being made. You're seeing conference tournaments in college basketball. One by one, they are being canceled within the last 10 to 15 minutes. SEC, Big Ten, ACC, among others. So again, it is impacting everyone. I know Adam, as you can see, has got a play selected. I did, but I'm pulling it because I can tell you right now, you can bank on it. There's going to be no NHL hockey tonight.
No. I wrote that hours ago.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. No. I was just on the line with Nat, just being like, so I know the road team here is flying home. That means they forfeit. So my banker is already cashed today.
Yeah.
It's going on my record. No. Jokes aside, no. I just wrote it up and didn't bother deleting it. But
yeah, I mean,
I know it's not happening.
Yeah, this might be the last time you see us doing this video for at least a couple of weeks, and I would expect the NBA is going to be suspended for at least 2 weeks because the quarantine periods for the few players that have been diagnosed with coronavirus. Of course, 2 players from the Utah Jazz have been named as having the coronavirus and diagnosed with it. Donovan Mitchell and, of course, Rudy Gobert, the first case. You're going to, I think, see a minimum 2-week suspension of the NBA, NHL. What this means for college basketball, who knows? But I know from an NHL perspective, we'll focus on that because that's what this show's about. They've canceled morning skates. From what I've heard and what I've seen on Twitter, they're telling teams that are traveling on the road, book your flights home. They're telling referees, linesmen, book your flights home. There's not going to be NHL hockey tonight or any time moving forward. So here we are in one of the most unprecedented, unreal situations I think I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Yeah, it's evolved very rapidly, and I apologize for the noise in the background. And I think the NHL moving to cancel their season preemptively without any word that a player has been infected is the right decision, because if there is a hope for the season resuming this year, if it's gone through the locker rooms, it's going to be so much worse for that possibility of it coming back. So if it is only a temporary hiatus from the NHL. Well, I'm just going to speak about the NHL here. Before any players have got it, then it's a much better proactive approach because, again, within the locker rooms, people traveling in a short space for the same amount of time, that incubation period being 2 weeks long, and not knowing who on the team contracted it first and then passed on to another team. And it's such a closed circuit thing that if they get ahead of it, like I'm hoping they announce shortly, which they probably will, then we might have a hope for the season resuming. And Flyers fans who are thankful that their team is finally going to, have a shot at a contention can be happy about that, and freelance writers in all domains of sports writing as well can look forward to hopefully this just being a temporary hiatus from work.
Yeah, I mean, I would, and that's another thing too, is that when the time comes for NBA, NHL, any other leagues that get canceled to resume, where do you resume? Do you just pick up the regular season where it left off, or do you just skip the rest of the regular season because you're going to be so far behind and go right to the playoffs in both sports? So those are decisions that are going to have to be made. And if you're the Florida Panthers right now, as a perfect example, you got to be PO'd. You got to be absolutely frustrated and angry and upset. at all of this going on. You're not upset, obviously, at one individual. This is obviously a world situation, but just upset at the situation overall because you know damn well if the regular season gets poached by this coronavirus and they don't resume it and they go straight to the Stanley Cup playoffs when play resumes, you're screwed. You're out of the playoffs because you're on the outside looking in. But if you had played the remainder of the regular season, you still got a chance to track down Toronto and get a playoff spot. So you know it affects every team differently, but there's no doubt there's a big question mark in terms of how these leagues are going to pick up and where they're going to pick up their seasons when this suspension period ends. And this suspension period, Adam, it's going to last 2 weeks, maybe even a month at least. You know, I would think with all of these sports moving forward. So that is going to make it an interesting and challenging decision. What are you going to do? Play hockey until August? Like, I don't think they want to do that either because then you're getting really close to next season when it's all said and done. So there's some tough decisions scheduling wise that are going to have to be made.
Ian, I wouldn't be surprised if they if they do resume the season, if they just take the teams that are already sitting in a spot.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yep.
That would be tough for those fans and players that were very close to getting in, that maybe thought they had 10 games left. But it's we've seen shorter lockout seasons with 48 games and stuff like that before, and that's where it goes. But again, when you talk about, I know some people have tweeted out that it only affects a small portion and it's mostly elderly people, but what it does is for those people that do get infected, it overcrowds the hospitals. I mean, we took a friend of mine who's a doctor in Alberta mentioned yesterday that if the Alberta healthcare system had 5,000 cases, and maybe some of the doctors were infected as well, it would just overwhelm the system. So by the NHL and these sports leagues taking these steps is to ensure that they are doing everything they can to help the healthcare system not to suffer from 20,000 people or 1,000 at a concert or whatever it is, all in this clustered area is going to cause it to spread faster. So they're just trying to do what they can to help people outside their realm. And it's not about necessarily saying we're worried that all our players are going to get sick. It's much bigger than that. And so I do think it's the right decision, and it is unprecedented. I'm hoping that we still see the playoffs. I'm not too bothered I'm an Oilers fan. It looks like they would get in this year. But I would just like to see maybe a few rounds of the playoffs still. It's been a good, profitable year, and it would be nice to see that in the postseason a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's I always try to maintain the proper, real perspective that the important thing is the health and safety of the people, the public, the society, the human beings around the world. So I don't want to sound selfish because I'm going to miss NHL because I love the sport. I'm going to miss the NHL because I'm on my way to another winning, profitable season in the NHL, and I've had a really good run of late with it. But I'm going to spend a second to be selfish and say I will miss the NHL for those reasons. I mean, it's one of my favorite sports, one of the most exciting sports there is, if not the most exciting. And obviously, it's been one of my stronger betting sports for years, dating back to the last decade when I really started seriously being a bettor and handicapper. So it is definitely, to me, a situation where it's a tough day. It's a sad day. It's a humbling day. It's a troubling day because you're seeing people getting diagnosed and infected with this awful disease left and right, including athletes, people around the world. And think about the businesses, just the good, hardworking people that rely on sporting events nearby for their businesses. Restaurant owners, Uber drivers. Travel agency operators. People aren't going to be traveling anymore, scared to travel moving forward because of this thing. I mean, there are day-to-day, 9 to 5, people just trying to, blue-collar jobs that are going to be impacted in a big way and in a negative way in terms of their cash flow, in terms of the, money coming in from a business standpoint because of this and because of all of these sporting events being canceled. So never mind just the players, us, the players and everything. How about the business owners that rely on, people coming to the stadiums, concessions. I mean, restaurants near the stadiums, near the arenas. I mean, you could go on and on and on and talk about just the endless amount of people that are impacted by this.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I haven't seen in the chat some people talking about betting darts, creating a darts model, and no, I mean, I don't want to say pandemic is the reason to diversify, but things happen in many sports with a year-round scheduling and stuff, and it's good to diversify what you do bet. And so I do have a hand. I mentioned to Natalie that before the show that I was going to bring this up. I do bet esports year round, and there have been a couple tournaments that have been canceled or postponed, but there's also been a number that are still going forward or that have moved to online matches instead. I apologize for the noise; it's terrible.
It's really bad today. Yeah.
It's so bad today. It's so bad. Yeah. But I was just going to say, so I will have some esports action for those DJs looking for some stuff to get it on, and that's professional gaming.
It's not DGen if the esports bets are coming from you, though, because you do well with it.
No, it's true. I know that's true. But also, I did see Bet Online was offering some props on if the NBA will return and when you can select the date. So, I know there's people out there that just want to have some fun money down on games, and they're not taking it too seriously. So you can try and do some research on the spread of the virus, and if people will bet on everything and anything, and so there are other avenues besides NBA and NHL to get your hands in the mix. Maybe you learn a little bit about a new sport this week or over the next month. Prepare for another season, prepare for Wimbledon, whatever. Just try to not focus on I have nothing to do with my life now that the NBA and NHL aren't on. You can use this time to do something positive or find a new interest, even sports betting wise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Mongolian soccer. There you go.
From what I've seen, there's a bunch of Europa League stuff today, and I think that's still going on in the soccer world. So I don't think any of that's being canceled. Actually, from a college basketball standpoint, I'm just seeing on the television sets in front of me here, the ACC tournament looks like it's going on, or they're going to be moving forward with it. And the Big East has already started. Like the Big East tournament has not canceled yet. And in fact, the first game in the Big East tournament's off and running with St. John's and Creighton underway at Madison Square Garden. So there are a couple of these conference tournaments that, see, this doesn't make any damn sense. If you're canceling 3 of them, the AAC, the Big Ten, and the SEC, why aren't you canceling all of them at this point?
Is it because of where those games are taking place, what state it's falling into? That
no doubt that's playing into some of it, because it's Indiana is where the Big Ten is. Indiana, Tennessee is where the SEC is in Nashville, and the AAC is in. I'm trying to think now where the AAC is. I believe it's in the Northeast somewhere as well, but that was canceled as well. The American Athletic, but.
Do you know what I was thinking about, Ian, this morning was all of my season team totals. I have no idea what's going to happen with those. I mean, I guess they're all going to go void.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Yeah, I would think so. There's Alex, Alex C. in the chat, of course, soccer expert here at SBR, mentioning that, just 2 Europa League matches are canceled. Correct. I figured that because, cool. Alex, I place your bets that you post on Twitter. Alex. On Twitter, when I see Alex has his Twitter soccer plays there, you better believe Ian Cameron's betting them. So yeah, I know I've got
he
this.
He hears you mention Europa League and he comes flying in to give the right
exactly.
Right
I've got this. I've got this Shakhtar Donetsk over here today against. So I'm hoping for good stuff there, Alex. I need it. I need the money now. I don't have money to bet on NHL now moving forward. So Stalker's got to come through for me. You better believe it. I'm turning my attention to the soccer pitch now for the next few days. Although soccer's not going to.
We did have Alex fill in for you that one day, So maybe you can go on his show.
Wolfsburg.
And,
that's the one. Wolfsburg and Shakhtar Donetsk. We've got Rangers and Bayer Leverkusen, Eintracht Frankfurt and Basel. I know how to pronounce that. It's not Basel. It's Basel if you say it properly. I know my.
Wait, let me just change the banner on the show, Ian, to maybe soccer play of the day with a little green grassy background here.
Yeah.
No, but that's exactly the point that you're making. Is there's still other things to go on, and maybe people will just be a little bit more selective about what they're getting involved with. So
yeah, there's two matches in the soccer that have been. I see that on my Bet365 account right now. Inter Milan and Getafe is canceled. Sevilla and Roma is canceled. That's it. Everything else is on. Lask Linz at Man United's on. Istanbul Basaksehir here and FC Copenhagen are on. So all those matches in the Europa League look like they're on today. So there you go.
Good stuff. So going forward, the Play of the Day show will be not running unless we hear word about filling it with another space. But
what can we do? We can't do a show when there's no games. Exactly right. Yep.
Well, we just did one, Ian. So
yeah, today we did, because we're in that state of flux right now, limbo. We're waiting for the NHL to make it what I expect to be official.
But my point, that the conversation I had with Natalie prior was, there is going to be a decision. I mean, the NHL, unless this goes to unreachable, unimaginable sort of scares, the NHL will return this season in some aspects. So. Yes. As far as talking about futures and progress, we are an NHL betting show. When the NHL betting markets open back up, we'll have things to talk about. So, that could be a week from now. It could be 3 weeks from now. But the show will come back at some point, and we will let you know if there's a Saturday or Tuesday, whenever it next is.
Yeah, definitely.
If you still want to read my articles, I already did them today. They are up on the site. The link is in the description below. And
absolutely, and file it away for.
But I put the effort out there, and so have a read if you feel like
it. And absorb the info, absorb the words that you read in Adam's art, because he's always got great detail. And if you take something from it, use it 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks down the road when the season begins. Maybe you can use it for the future. Some of the great info on the reasoning behind a certain bet. So,
well, Ian, you'll remember my play of the day when the Blues played in Anaheim and Bouwmeester had that cardiac issue or whatever it ended up being. That game got replayed last night, and so if you had, my play of the day was the Blues. I didn't repost it last night because I didn't bet it last night. But if you had wanted to, you could have revisited the St. Louis Blues. That just as an example, because some of these games could get postponed, so the Islanders still could be heading to Calgary for their first game back in a couple weeks. We don't know.
Yeah, exactly right. No, that's a great point. So it's something that can still apply when the NHL season resumes. Again, we have no official confirmation yet the NHL is doing this, but it's going to happen. They're sending referees home. They're sending teams that are traveling on the road to their next road game going into tonight and Friday home. They're telling them book tickets, book flights home. So that tells you all you need to know before even the announcement's been made that the NHL will be following suit like the NBA did and suspending the season indefinitely. So that'll wrap up our little show here. And again, about the coronavirus, I want to throw this out there before we wrap up. Make sure if you're trying to find out more information on what it's about, how you can fight it, the symptoms and all that, make sure you're reading the good information and you're separating it from the misinformation. There's so much misinformation
just go
and
to
incorrect.
the World Health Organization website.
Yeah.
Go to the actual, whether it's John Hopkins or whatever, go to actual medical professionals. Don't watch Fox News or CNN or whatever, BBC. Just go. You can find all this information yourself. You just need to be literate. That's all.
Do you know who you listen to and read in terms of knowledge about the coronavirus? Doctors, nurses.
Yeah.
World Health Organization members, infectious disease experts, not some Joe Schmo on Twitter that apparently yesterday said that if you sit in a hot sauna for an hour, it's going to get rid of the coronavirus, which proved to be total BS. And someone called him out on that.
I love how it's like proved to be bullshit. Like somebody actually then went to check out if that was true.
Yes.
No, I agree completely. My girlfriend's a intensive care unit nurse, and I asked her, what is your hospital doing to prepare for it? And she's very frank about, here is literally what the professionals in the industry are saying specifically about it. And that's where you should go for, not to your girlfriend, but I just mean to the necessary websites.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure the sources that you get info on this virus are trustworthy. Absolutely. So with that in mind, guys, that's a wrap. I don't know when you'll see us next for a Play of the Day video, but we will be back because I do believe the NHL season will resume at some point. Hopefully that's the case when all of this, with a major portion of this scare with the coronavirus passes through. Thanks again for watching throughout the season so far to this point. We really do appreciate it, and we'll keep you updated on where we go from here in the weeks to come as we all deal with the coronavirus. So and how its impact obviously on the sports world, and from our standpoint, specifically the NHL. So that's going to wrap it up, guys. Again, just we'll keep you updated in the days and the weeks ahead. Thanks again for watching. For Adam Booth, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great day. Stay safe, everybody. More important than anything, stay safe. Take care of each other, loved ones, friends, family. And again, this is an unprecedented day for sure. We hope to be back at some point later this season with more play of the day coverage here at sportsbookreview.com. For Adam Booth, I'm Ian Cameron. Take care, everybody.